Hey guys, Stealth here. Today in Steel Division we're going to have a look at that new US Infantry Division, the 2nd Infantry Div. It's comprised of a lot of Rangers, a lot of infantry heavy units in this deck, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of high anti-tank weapons in it. But the guy who's going to be showing us today is Facmanprob, and he shows us that this is not really that much of an issue, because he's going to be fighting off against the 12th SS Panzer Group, and this is of course another infantry heavy deck. They're going to fight around the middle in this 10v10, fighting about this town. And both of these infantry units are pretty damn effective at killing off infantry, so it's going to be interesting to see who gets out on top here. Now he's starting off with, of course, quite a few units. Of course, none of the amphibious units really provide any sort of bonus here, because there's nothing to float across here. The only amphibious positions that could be useful are maybe here, these rivers, but doing an amphibious landing from this side to the next, I don't really see the point of it. Anyway, we're off. Let's have a look at the units that he decided to bring in. We have a Fort GPA with reconnaissance inside. We have another Fort GPA with a machine gun group. High veterancy on both of these, so these guys are going to be ferrying some very high veterancy troops, which is one of the trademarks of this deck. They seem to have a lot of veterancy, and that seems to be making them a lot more effective than the enemy infantry usually is. Of course, it will depend on the enemy infantry that you are facing. Now, aside from those two units that are pushing up very quickly, he also has a jeep with, again, quite a high level of veterancy. He has a couple of WC-25s. These are slower jeeps or slower transport vehicles. And in the back we have an M15 CGMC. This is an AA gun, but can also be very effective at killing off enemy infantry. To the left he has another GMC with an anti-tank gun and a reconnaissance unit, so he can keep an eye on this field here and deal with any vehicles that may come up to fight over this land. Now the frontline unit has been dropped off. We've got the Rangers here. These are the Marauders. It's a small group. It's a 3-man group. And one of you pointed out recently that the Rangers are remarkably fast. They are 20 kph units. As somebody pointed out, they are almost like an Olympic runner, in the sense that they can keep up with 20 kilometers per hour indefinitely. Of course, in Wargame we had units which were even faster. But the speed of these units is pretty remarkable. Now he's pushing up, trying to get through these woods to the buildings on the other end of it, because from over there he has a safer position to deal with enemy vehicles as they might be coming up. Note how he does not use any of the tanks that he can bring in. These units are, as someone recently pointed out, not so much tank-on-tank units. They're not meant for that. I'm talking about the Jumbo, or the M4 in this case. They're not so much used for that, they're used for supporting the infantry. So lobbing HE shells at the enemy and thereby hoping to hold them off. Not so much for one-on-one tank warfare against Panzers, or Panzer IVs or Panthers in that case. Now as he's moving up over to his right, the battle is raging pretty intensely here. We have Blue Silk. Let's see what Blue is going to be using today. This is the 12th SS Panzer Group. Note how he is being forced to fall back. And by the looks of it, this is Paul KT, who is using the 2nd Infantry as well. Just like, well, pretty much half the team here. We got 6 out of 12 guys using the 2nd Infantry Div. So we're going to have quite a lot of infantry. Now as he captures the first positions here, he's bringing in reinforcements. We have another couple of WC-25s coming in, as well as a whole slew of vehicles, not solely his, also a couple of Ducks from Paul KT, and another anti-tank gun moves up. Now the anti-tank guns that he has positioned over here are still moving into position. Of course this one doesn't really have a good line of sight, but once you put it over here, it becomes quite adequate at dealing with vehicles that might come across this road or might be pushing over along the field from that axis. Let's see, where is the enemy and why are they not fighting over this town? This is quite unusual, really. You'd expect them to get a bit more aggressive, especially if they have that much infantry. And if you can capture, for example, this church and put some infantry inside it, you have a pretty commanding view over the surrounding area. And looks like we are not alone. We have Panzer Grenadiers here from, who is that? Gravena. Again, 12th SS Panzer Group. So we're facing Panzer Grenadiers. The Rangers are immediately taking a lot of fire. And unfortunately they're not dishing it out as much. But these guys, with their light machine guns, can put up quite a surprising suppressive barrage. As you can see, it's not the only group that's firing the Panzer Grenadiers. We also have the M1919 medium machine guns from the Rangers, putting as much suppressive fire on them as possible, while they are being boosted by a command group here. So these guys have 3-star veterancy. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite show you what exactly that does to their stats, but these guys are probably more effective at suppressing enemy troops. Now, as these infantrymen are forced to fall back, note how they haven't lost any men yet. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Normally, a unit that gets heavily suppressed also starts to lose forces. These Rangers just haven't lost anyone yet. So they're doing very, very well in that regard. The Marauders on the left flank are seemingly not yet detected and not quite intent on getting stuck in with the Panzer Grenadiers. Of course, they're pretty expensive, 30-man infantry groups, which means that you're paying 10 points per guy. But at the same time, you don't really want to lose these, because they are that expensive. So we just have a couple of Panzer Grenadiers firing, or actually getting pinned down by the suppressive fire from the supports here, the Jeep, again the machine gun. And we have a problem here. We have a Firefly Beute coming in. This one is going to be quite the issue. So, especially considering we don't really have any AT guns into position here, it's going to be tricky to take it out. But note how he deals with it. He puts up a barrage of smoke grenades. Then, as the infantry gets pinned down, the tank has two choices: fall back or move out of the smoke screen. Those are really the only two options if you want to keep using that tank. What he does is move out. He comes closer, right into the range of the Marauders, which instantly break the tracks on the vehicle, causing it to get very much shaken. Further artillery is going onto the last known position of the infantry, and the Marauders fire again, taking out the tank. There's another transport which is scurrying for cover, but not fast enough, as the Marauders fire again, and with 3 out of their 8 rockets take out 2 vehicles, one of which was very expensive. So a fantastic use here of mortars, providing an alternating fire of HE rounds and smoke grenades to keep the tank at bay, keep it closer, and get it to in range of the Marauders. So very, very well done there. That is how you can use these groups. And that's how the infantry can still be very effective, despite the fact that they have pretty short-range weaponry. Now, as the tank is dead, we're pushing up into this town. And it's not just him that's pushing up, it's also Paul KT on the right flank. He's pushing up with some Ranger leaders, and unfortunately the rifles, which were supposed to be doing the pushing, have been suppressed, so they're not actually able to move up anymore. And unfortunately we have the Jeep that just went down. I'm not exactly sure what took it out. I don't think it was the suppressive fire from this transport, nor any of the AT weaponry here, but it might have been. They may have been lucky enough to get close enough. A lot of mortar fire going in on these Panzer Grenadiers. They're getting pinned down, making it quite a bit easier for the friendly infantry to push up. Unfortunately, that's when we run into the Fallschirmjäger. Highly veteran troops, 3 stars here, which means that we have a command infantry unit nearby, or at least I'm assuming that it is a command infantry unit, because that's really the only unit that would make sense in a setting like this. Because you can hide them, for example, in here, maybe back there, and they spread out their veterancy all over the place. Now, taking out this town is going to be tricky, despite the fact that he has quite a few mortars for backup. Unfortunately, these mortars have been almost entirely depleted. They still carry 16 smoke rounds. This one is about to fire its last HE round, and that's it. No more suppressive fire for the Fallschirmjägers. No more suppressive fire on the Panzer Grenadiers. And this means that the forces on the right flank were forced to retreat for now. Fortunately, we have some further reinforcements coming in. Another Jeep with another machine gun inside. And a 50 cal Jeep from Pol KT, which can also help with suppressing enemy forces. Another couple of transports are being brought in from Gravina. And it seems that he's facing off against both Pol and Facmanprob here on the middle of the map. Or towards the middle of the map, really. More artillery fire going in towards that transport, and instead of actually killing it off, he's putting up a large barrage of smoke so that the vehicle cannot provide suppressive fire to any of the units that may have been detected, and it might allow the Rangers and the rifles that he has a little bit further to the right to push up. Hopefully the smoke screen is going to work, but just note how quickly these mortars can put it up. They still carry 7 rounds, that's all they have left. This one has 8. That's all they got. Now he has 1 tank standing by. He keeps it in the rear, mostly as a reserve unit, and he's not quite pushing yet. Because the forces that he has over here are not that powerful at pushing up, not really. These are mostly support troops, very effective at suppressing enemy units. Not that great at attacking, because there are only 6 guys. I usually prefer to push with some larger infantry units. Now, Gavinant keeps pushing forward, which seems to be a command unit there, an SPW-223 command, which basically makes itself a very, very easy target. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to position the tank or the anti-tank gun just right, slightly off to the front of the machine gun nest there. If they do that, they might be able to take out that command unit, which would definitely help. Now the smoke is starting to dissipate, and considering that he didn't really use that much of it as an offensive position, it wasn't really that valuable. But it seems that his mortars are... or is this... sorry, it's a new mortar. The new mortar has been brought to the front line, and is once again firing HE rounds at the new position. Seemingly trying to get the kill on the 223 there, which is scurrying away, not at all interested in sticking around here for much longer. It's now falling back, not really too happy about taking that much fire from the M4A1, and it finally takes it out, so no more command stars for these units. Or at least 1 less, because we don't know if they took out all the command units there. Now he keeps bringing in reinforcements. We have a duck coming in with resupplies for the mortars, which are desperately needed. Another unit comes in, another M16 MGMC, so that's an AA gun / anti-infantry gun. There's 2 of them actually. And over on the left he has an M7DD. Now these are artillery units turned amphibious turned direct assault gun. They don't provide indirect fire. They provide direct high HE impacts on enemy infantry, and can be used pretty effectively to suppress infantry or just clear out the way as your own infantry can move up. Combine those with the smokescreen, you have a pretty effective force. Over to the right he brought over an M1 gun. It's only a 57mm, but he doesn't really need much more at the moment, because the most targets that we can see here are just a couple of transports. The transports are constantly pinning down Pol's forces so that Pol cannot move up. And he needs Pol to move up on the right flank, because there's quite a bit of terrain to be gained here, and there's not that much defending the terrain. So 1 M1 gun on the right flank seems to be able to do the job for now. Now we're already in phase B, so we can bring in more powerful units, and we're going to be in phase B for another 7 minutes, and then we're in phase C, so that is when these guys could bring in their really heavy guns. So let's try to get out of there quickly. Try to get this town ASAP. Artillery fires at the Panzer Grenadiers here. Unfortunately, also seemingly to splash the Marauders here. The artillery is not that accurate. The artillery that we're seeing here is the M2A1 howitzer with a 105mm gun. Packs a far bigger punch than the mortars, at 15 HE versus only 6 HE from these mortars. So the infantry here is definitely noticing the impacts. You can see that they're pinned down, and these guys are almost destroyed. There we go, he's down. Unfortunately, with that, the building also got destroyed. So pushing up through this town is going to get increasingly difficult as less and less buildings become available. Not because the enemy captured them, but because they're simply no longer there. All that remains is a smoking bit of rubble. New artillery salvo comes in from the mortars, going directly for the command infantry that has been spotted. Again, if you can take these guys out, you can take off some of their veterancy. You may destroy the structure that they're in. That is, if they ever were. Nope, they were just hiding out in the trees over there. So that's the command infantry gone. And we have a Jagdpanzer coming in. This forces the M4A1 to retreat. It has to pull back behind the building here in order not to get killed off. These Jagdpanzers can be pretty nasty. They have 14 armor versus a 10 penetration gun on the M4A1, and yes, that is at maximum range. So at slightly lower range you have a better chance of hitting the targets. So the question is, how is he going to be able to take down that Jagdpanzer? I don't think that there's an easy or quick answer just yet. So instead of having to deal with the Jagdpanzer immediately, he's putting up a smokescreen, allowing his forces and Paul's forces on the right to stay in cover and not have the Jagdpanzer fire at them yet. It also saved his M4A1, which, wow, this thing has been firing a lot. It is completely depleted. What the hell happened to you? Have you been firing that much? Or did you have some sort of ammo explosion? Usually an ammo explosion kills a tank. But back in Wargame we have this mechanic where if your ammunition storage gets hit, half, if not more, of your ammunition gets taken off. So I think that that might be what happened to this M4A1, because I doubt very much that it fired all of its AP and HE rounds. But that's exactly what this tank seems to indicate. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to the tank. Now another smoke barrage comes in, and this is when he immediately drops off his rifles inside the smoke. They are, however, immediately getting worried about the infantry that seems to be firing at them. The smokescreen so far is concealing them, but the concealment works both ways. They themselves cannot actually deal with the Panzer Grenadiers because they can't fire at them, so they have to come a bit closer, which also puts them in a line of fire of this transport. And that's not the only thing, we seem to have a tank coming in. Not exactly, there's the Jagdpanzer again, that's the problem. The Jagdpanzer does come with a few HE rounds. It only carries 10, which don't do that much damage. But still, this is a vehicle that you'd rather get rid of as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, he still cannot use the M4A1. So once again, the smokescreen is put up to save his infantry as they seem to try to get closer to the church. Further smoke being put up surrounding the church. Very, very nice use of smoke here. Come on, just one last guy standing there. Take him out. The transport moves up along the road, trying to suppress this massive infantry that keeps moving forward. Now he does have the rifles, and the rifles unfortunately don't come with anti-vehicle weapons. So he's going to have to rely on other infantry to do that job, such as the bazooka group here. The supports can't do it. Where's the infantry? Yeah, the Marauders. They might be able to do it if they can get close enough. The question is, can the Marauders get close enough to these transports? If they were to get inside this building, that would help. So far, actually they still have the opportunity to take the church. Come on guys, keep pushing. Keep pushing. Now, as the fight for the town seems to be going well, we have a bit of a problem going on. And this happens on the right flank. Because the right flank that is being managed by Paul is starting to collapse on the utmost right area here. They seem to be pushing pretty heavily. We have a couple of infantry units, and that's really only the defense that we have here. One M4A1, one command M4A1 that's forced to fall back and has its transmission damaged. And as this push continues, they risk getting flanked here, and thereby losing not just a lot of terrain, but also quite a few units in the process. So it would be nice if they could stop this as quickly as possible. Now, the enemy seems to be doing a counter-offensive here. There is a lot of stuff being hauled into this town. We have the Panzer Grenadiers, we have transports, further Panzer Grenadiers holding the building to the edge of the town. Note how the Jagdpanzer is very sneakily trying to look just around the corner of this building here, as it's not exposing too much of itself, and risking quite little in the sense of return fire. From its current position, it can still do quite a bit of damage, as you can see. Unfortunately, for him, there's not that much that they can do. And thanks to the rocket artillery, this is the xylophone, this one fired one barrage of missiles, or rockets actually, at the town, forcing everyone to fall back. And thanks to this barrage, he is making it more easy for his forces to at least catch their breath for a bit. And then try to do another push onto the infantry that is still positioned here. So this town is very, very heavily fought over. You can see that at this point, even the church, cathedral, I'm not exactly sure what it was, in the middle has been completely destroyed. It will no longer serve as cover. Unfortunately, the rocket artillery strike did not manage to neutralize this building, which would have been very nice, because it's a stronghold for the infantry inside. And it's one of the few buildings that are still left standing here. So if they can knock out this town or this building here, that might allow them to get a bit closer. As you get closer, you get a pretty good chance of killing off these transports. And meanwhile, they have more Fallschirmjägers on the left side of the town, immediately getting suppressed by support troops. Support troops getting quite a bit of assistance here. There's 2 support troops, and of course the M5 might be able to do something. No, the tree line here is in the way. Now he pushes up with the Marauders, quite aggressively so, trying to get kills on these vehicles. He seems to have gotten 1 kill, maybe 2 there. Can he get another one? He's still aligning, still reloading. These guys are heavily shaken. There's just 1 man standing here, and unfortunately he gets destroyed. He's finally taken out. Time for an aircraft to come in. What do we have here? It's a P-38 Lightning. And these guys are they stunning the aircraft? Or sorry, are they stunning the vehicles? Managed to destroy another building over there. Red is having increasingly less cover. And the Fallschirmjäger here are heavily pinned down, but that's just about it. There's not that much that they have left. Now the M4 has been rearmed. This must have taken quite a lot of supplies, if it is the same M4, but I'm thinking that it is. And he also brought in an M4A1 OP. This is an artillery observer. Look at that. That was the xylophone firing yet again, and managing to destroy the enemy Fallschirmjägers, while surprisingly leaving their building intact. So if they can put up another smokescreen, we might see the Rangers getting into this building quickly, and thereby getting a small bit of terrain on the red forces here. Anyways, the artillery observer can call in an artillery strike, and it is preparing. Unfortunately, the replay doesn't show us exactly where he's going to be landing this artillery, but it is definitely coming down. And it seems to be coming down towards this area, where the Jagdpanzer is still alive, but has hastily being retreated. Definitely not wanting to stay inside of the firing zone for much longer. At the same time, the mortars are once again at it, suppressing the 222 over here. And as I was hoping, the Panzer Grenadiers were able to take this structure. Unfortunately, there are no more Fallschirmjägers in there, but there's a fresh group of Panzer Grenadiers instead. And we still have the Jagdpanzer here to contend with, so it's not very safe for his M4DDs to keep pushing up to try and suppress enemy vehicles or infantry. These things just keep firing and keep firing and keep firing. And this town is just... it's flattened. There's nothing left there. Even the building where the Panzer Grenadiers were a moment ago is now completely destroyed. And really the only part that's still left of this town is this block of buildings here. And yes, there's also a bit of buildings here, but this is becoming less important. This is the next phase of the battle, really. If you can get there fast enough, anyways. Another aircraft comes in, another P-38 Lightning, drops on top of the Jagdpanzer, which is now forced to fall back and has its tracks broken. Can we make use of that lull in the fighting to take it out, yes or no? Now it looks like, unfortunately, his M7 got taken out. You can still see it here. And both of his M4DDs got taken out as well. So he has no further tanks to provide fire support. What he does have is a fresh batch of infantry that's being brought in. I'm not sure they're going to be actually able to make it to the middle of the town. That's going to be quite a challenge. And to make matters worse, we have another command unit coming in. Befehlspanzer 4H. Another pretty nasty Predator joins the fight. And once again, it's going to be pretty tricky to get close enough to deal with this tank. So I wonder how he's going to be able to do it. Seems like we have another airstrike landing here. Is that still the M4OP? Yep, it's firing. The M4OP seems to be suppressing vehicles as they come into this town. And it's not the only artillery that we have coming in. We also have the mortar fire, which doesn't really do that much, but at least keeps them on their toes. And won't really do that much damage to this Jagdpanzer, which, well, has been heavily blackened by all the impacts. There we go, he got him. Not exactly sure what took it out. Was that an aircraft? I doubt it was the artillery, though. What exactly was this? I'm gonna have to have a look at that in the post-commentary. Anyways, we have a new column of GMCs coming into the town. This looks like a lot of rifles which are being put forward. Unfortunately, as mentioned, the rifles are not that good at dealing with enemy vehicles. We might be able to suppress them a bit, but that's about it. Now a bombing run comes in from this FW-190, drops right on top of the leaders, which fortunately survive. But that's about all they can say. They're pinned down. There's one man left standing here. That's all that they have in the sense of command here. Let's see, we have another unit coming in. We have another 4 GPA with reconnaissance, and over to the right, look at how far Red has been able to push up here. These guys are doing a really good job moving forward, and the enemy infantry just keeps on moving. So the Marauders are being put forward quickly to hope and secure this position. It's not going to be an easy fight here, though. Let's see, seems to be like it's a bit quiet in the town at the moment. I think that these guys have thrown a lot of forces at each other. Oh, looks like we had the rifles being offloaded early. You can see quite a few scurrying behind the buildings here into these tree lines, into this, well, little bit of wood that they have going on here. But these rifles are not quite as lucky and they're being pinned down. And to make matters worse, we're not just dealing with the vehicles and the units that are up front, but also to the side. The units don't really respond well to being flanked, and especially if you're dealing with something along the lines of a tank, and it only has front armor that is really significant, and side armor would be far more easy to pierce. So if you have a tank that's dealing with the forces over here, it's going to have its side armor to the units over there, which could be a real problem. Now another Focke-Wulf 190 comes in, drops right on top of the infantry group that was standing there, killing off the command unit there, suppressing the rifles, and wiping out all but one of them. So there's really very little of them left. Now we have an M10A1 destroyer coming in. These are tank destroyers. Let's see, what are they dealing with? Pretty good rate of fire on that gun, I gotta say. They just keep bouncing, though. Looks like Paul decides to fire a couple of Thunderbolt munitions at them. He's falling back. Come on, buddy, this would be a good time to kill him. Not quite aiming at it yet. Keeps pushing forward. And by now, Paul has managed to organize quite a defense of this town, making it a lot more difficult for the other forces to keep pushing. Oh, what are we dealing with here? Another Firefly. The M1 gets boosted by the leader that is sitting in the town, so it has 3 stars of veterancy versus seemingly no stars on this Firefly. The Firefly keeps moving forward. The M10 aims and immediately fires into the side of the Firefly, wiping it out with an ammunition explosion. Now the question is, can it do it again with the command panzer over there? And yeah, it's getting shot at. Yep, there we go, ammo explosion. Firefly, correction, the destroyer strikes again. Wolverine moves forward. Come on. These things are actually pretty cheap for what I've been able to kill so far. Just 130 points. But holy hell. Anybody got an airstrike? Because this is a prime target. Panzer Shreks are scurrying into cover as their transports are just as quickly falling back. Unfortunately, that's not the only transports that they have. Further transports are being put forward. And if they can kill off these transports, maybe put some infantry, let's say in this town or along this ridgeline, then they might be able to push that front line back a bit. This is also a pretty risky play here. We get the M16 MGMCs driving right across the road, which fortunately the Jagdpanzer cannot quite fire at, but well, it was pretty close. P-47 comes in again with another airstrike. There's another P-47 joining. This one drops an actual bomb. What do we hit? Not really sure what. So what is the Wolverine up to? It's currently still sitting here on the right side of town. Not doing that much at the moment. But I think that its deterrent, as it is currently just sitting here, is more than enough to keep these tanks at bay for the moment. Or at least you'd think so. But it looks like Blue Silk has quite a different idea here. It keeps pushing up with a whole load of units. Time to put the Wolverine to fight again. So long as this leader keeps it inside its protection zone or its influence zone, this thing is going to be very accurate. Now let's see how the fight in the town is going. We have some guys surrendering there. That was a German transport that apparently got suppressed so much so that they just gave up, interestingly. We have there another airstrike. Oh, that's another unit of infantry that got taken out. And with it, another building that got destroyed. Now, they seem to be focusing mostly on the right flank at the moment, because we got plenty of targets out in the open, and just look at the number of planes that are coming out here. Facmanprob only, or just him alone, he has 5 aircraft ready to strike, most of which are currently repairing, evacing or reloading, so all of them have been used to keep these guys at bay. Unfortunately, the Wolverine doesn't quite have the range yet to deal with the Jagdpanzer, but this would have been an ideal time to try and go and kill it, because it is not going to be very accurate. Yes, it has 2 stars, but it is falling back, which is when it's a perfect time to strike. Panzer Grenadiers still holding the tree line here, duking it out with the rifles, but the rifles are suddenly going to have quite a big issue as they run out of machine gun fire. These guys don't really seem to have the same issue. And yep, there we go. An M5 joins the fight and is now dealing with the Panzer Grenadiers as well. Fires again. No real hit on them yet. Come on. Seems like it's losing line of sight of these guys intermittently. Anyways, what's going on here? Not too much. I think both forces are not too interested in taking over this town. Gavina is still moving forward with some infantry. Seems like a very heavily wounded group of Panzer Grenadiers tries to push forward. But really, this is the only building that is left. Unfortunately, he's not just pushing with infantry. We also have a 233, which comes with a 75mm gun, a couple of transports, and we have another tank, which is yet to be identified. But there we go. It's a Panzer IV-H command unit. So once again, a priority target. Can he get this unit? that's going to be the issue. Because, again, the rifles don't do anything, the supports don't do anything. We need something that can really deal with enemy armor. Looks like the xylophone fired again. This time, once again, forcing most of these units back. Aircraft drops off another bomb here. But this tank seems to be not very much impressed by the artillery of the xylophone as it came in. Come on. He now has a couple of M2A1 howitzers all firing on these towns or on these units as they keep pushing forward, and this is starting to stress out the command panzer. Another aircraft came in. The xylophone has been destroyed. I'm afraid that he didn't move it off enough, and now this thing is no longer going to be suppressing anything, but I think it was out of ammo. It fired off quite a few salvos already. Now, to make matters worse, he's also operating on the right flank, so his micromanagement skill is being pretty heavily tested here. He's pushing up with the Rhino and the Wolverine. Together they're dealing with a bit of Panzer Grenadiers, and they are slowly but definitely getting this front line pushed back. Unfortunately, they take quite a bombing run. Look at that. This is, I believe, an open-top vehicle, which means that I believe it is more susceptible to airstrikes than artillery. Somehow it still managed to survive, but that's about it. It is falling back. The Rhino is heavily shaken, but at least it is still active and still fighting. Unfortunately, this destroyer did not get suppressed, so it is still capable as a fighting force, and still making progress and pushing the enemy front line back. Now, as for the match, unfortunately, Red has been keeping control of most of the map for most of the battle. This is not something that I was paying attention to very much, because I was too heavily commenting on this match here in the town. But the Blue 4 has not scored any points so far. Red 4 has scored 1,400 points. And considering that we only have 4 minutes left on this game, there is no coming back from this. There is no way that they're going to come back from a point difference that high. So the battle is pretty much decided at this point. But let's see how far they can push this front line back. Oh, we have another skirmish here. And unfortunately he loses this time around. He lost the fight. The Befehl Panther over there on the right managed to get the kill on his Wolverine as it was out in the field. These things have 18 penetration, 7 accuracy, and 2 command stars, so 2 veterancy stars, making them very accurate. And unfortunately, he didn't have to look for the target as long as the Wolverine did, so unfortunately he got taken out. Now he still has some more units over here. Let's see if this Panther wants to come out and play. If it gets a bit closer, then these two might be able to get a killing blow on this Panther. And the Panther might very well be one of the last units that is still holding this front line. So if they can collapse this unit, they might be able to collapse the front line in their favor. Now, the Panther G in the middle of the town is forced to fall back, fortunately, thanks to another artillery strike consisting of both HE and smoke. So even if it was moving forward, it just didn't have that much line of sight left. Nice ammo explosion there on a transport. Looks like the M1 gun managed to get a kill. Can it do the same thing against the Mobilwagen? Unfortunately, no. Aircraft came in and managed to get it out. Look at this. We got some Panzer Grenadiers hiding out behind our lines. These guys managed to make it somehow behind the position of the M1. Not sure how they did that. But they are definitely not welcome, as this group alone is causing quite the dent in the front line here. It's not that threatening, but of course any terrain loss is bad. So if they can kill these guys off, the sooner the better. Now on the right, he keeps pushing forward. We have another 3 airstrikes coming in, forcing the Command Panther to fall back. A bit of smoke comes in. Where is that being fired from? Is that being fired from the howitzers? Yep, the howitzers are oriented right. And it seems that they're firing off a couple of HE rounds and have fired off some smoke rounds. If they can get close enough with the destroyers or the Wolverine or the Rhino, then they might might be able to still kill that Panther. Come on, keep pushing, keep scouting. At this point it's not so much about the points, it's just about can we get the kill, yes or no. Managed to bail out a Vespa there. And he's falling back. I wonder how a vehicle's falling back if the guys are bailed out. Really not sure how that works. And there we go, fuel explosion. The M10A1 strikes again. Very useful units these, provided you create the right circumstances for them to operate in. He just keeps pushing. We have 30 seconds left. Come on. Hang on. Never mind, the thing is dead. It's been killed off. Apparently I missed that. May have been killed off by the airstrikes or by the M10A1. We're going to have a look at the post-battle results screen. Now unfortunately, as the battle ticks out for the last 5 seconds, it's clear that Blue has not done a very good job for points, as they have not been able to get any single point during the entire match. So this is a defeat. But the reason that I showed this game is that I was very impressed with the way that Facmanprob used here the infantry and the smoke screens to get close enough to the enemy vehicles to finally kill them off, despite the lower AP values that these decks tend to come with. Now, he did maybe get a total defeat, but his kill-death ratio is actually pretty good, considering that he was pretty much running a meat grinder into that town. So an area where you have a very, very high chance of losing most, if not all, of your forces. And he did very well there. Let's see about his kills. Look at this. The mortars managed to get quite a few Panzer Grenadiers, and they get the Jagdpanzer IV. I'm not exactly sure how they managed to get it, but maybe some sort of lucky critical hit got the better of it. And the Jagdpanzer IV got destroyed by the mortars. Never really considered these guys as an effective way to deal with a tank or a tank destroyer unit. Marauders managed to kill the Firefly pretty early on. This was the initial attack with smokescreen that he used. Supports killed some SPA troops. M4A1DD managed to get a few kills, but really not that many. The M1 got a couple of transports, and they got a Panzer IV-H. Look at this. Another mortar doing good work, killing off another command unit there. Bazookas managed to get a couple of transports, not that much. Now, this is an interesting unit to use in a suppressive role, but I usually don't get a lot of kills with it, the Xylophone. They're much more about area suppression than about getting kills. And these guys are usually not granted that many, but just suppressing or forcing most units to fall back is their major contribution to a battle. The 155mm battery, this is the off-site battery. So this is the one that's being called in by the M4OP, the artillery observer. It's been able to get a kill on another command infantry unit as well as a PaK-38. We have the aircraft coming in. Look at this guy, Ethan in the M10A1. Panzer Grenadier, command infantry unit, Beute Firefly, command Panzer IV, command Panther, Vespa. Very, very effective tank destroyer there. 130 points unit that killed way, way, way more than it cost. M16 MGMC got a couple... wait, what? This is a medium AA gun that was actually able to take down an ME-109. Pretty effective. Rhinos got a couple of kills on the Grenadiers. Looks like the tanks, the M4A1s, mostly did their anti-infantry role in this match. Didn't really do that much against enemy transports. Got a few kills here and there, but that's about it. As for his losses, note where most of the losses are coming from. The Jagdpanzer IV, and I believe that this is the one that was operating in the town, commanded by Gravina, got the kill on the M7 and both of the tanks, as well as an anti-tank gun that was mostly put there to destroy enemy armor, so unfortunately didn't get to do its job very well. This one hit pretty well above its weight class as well, killing off these tanks and the M7DD. The M1 gun's not that expensive, but this combination is, I think, about 460, 470 points, somewhere in that range. The MSPW 232. I think that this one's armed with a 20mm gun, but I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm still learning the units. Got a few kills on the infantry, so a very effective suppressive unit there. Artillery got quite a bit of kills, including the xylophone, one of them. Aircraft got a few kills here and there. Now the aircraft are probably the main threat to your own artillery, as these mortar guys are just not very quick to get away from their last known position. They're not very quick to get themselves into safety, unfortunately. Command Panzer IV-H did a number on the infantry, on the AA gun there, but that's about it. That's all that he was able to get. Other aircraft and a couple of transports and a mobile wagon, not that impressive. So I'd say that overall, the whole team didn't do very well. They didn't get the terrain that they needed to win the fight. But that's not really the point of this replay. I was impressed, as mentioned, with the gameplay by Facmanprob using the second Infantry Division, and I wanted to show off how you can be effective with this battle group. I hope you found it useful. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, and if you have your own replay that you want to send in, be sure to do so in the description or in the link through the description down below. And that concludes the video, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more videos.